Hello, this is Winston Cunningham. It is November 24th, 2025. I want to talk about the 4 stages of growth. We have infancy, adolescence, adulthood, and then old age, which is the wisdom part. And anytime we learn anything, we will go through each of those stages. And even now, I can identify some things I'm learning. I'm in the infancy stage, some I'm in the adolescent stage, some I'm in the adult stage, and some in the wisdom stage. And at any given time, I've got things in each of those stages of growth. If you look at closely, maybe closer than you have before, at the words of Jesus, now Jesus represents the knowing part of each one of us, that quality within ourselves, that is knowing quality. That's what he introduced to this world. Read especially what he said about children, because the adolescent stage is the beginning and if you notice a child, they want to see everything, they want to touch everything, they want to smell everything, want to taste everything, and they want to feel everything, whatever, and they want to smell, hear, everything. They just want it all. And that, in Jesus, the knowing quality was talking to all parts of ourselves, saying that this is the way to approach learning. When you learn something new, you be like an infant or a young child wanting to absorb everything without any judgment, because you don't know anything about judgment yet. You learn that through a religion, that's another story. But a lot of people don't get exposed to that, and that's good. But no matter what the avenue or the manner of approach that you take, it is unique to you, even though there may be other people involved. So always come back to where you are. And don't make excuses for what you've been through. Be proud or be acknowledgeful of what you have experienced and what you have learned. If you'll notice that Jesus also talked about when he was berating all of the Pharisees, he was talking about them being stuck in adolescence rather than moving to adulthood. If you go back and read everything that he told the Pharisees, and I won't need to repeat all that, but that's what he was talking about. And then the adulthood is when you finally get serious. I want to, not only do I want to learn something, I'm going to. That's the adult stage. And if you remember when you got out of high school and getting into college maybe, or when you were through with your studies and you were beginning at the same time to experience what it was like to be a responsible adult, there's a lot of things that come into play there. So if you look at the way Jesus structured his teaching was to focus on each one of those groups in different ways. And if you're not familiar with language of mind, then may I suggest that you get a copy of Dr. Daniel Condren's book, Universal Language of Mind, Matthew Interpreted. And I keep referring back to this book because it spells out language of mind. And that's what I studied at School of Metaphysics, language of mind. It's the dream language. And by working with your dreams, there'll come a point to where, from learning to interpret your dreams and getting familiar with the language of mind, then the way it happened to me is when you open the Bible then and read something, instead of just seeing the words, you begin to get some pictures, which is the purpose of the words. The misunderstanding of what was said that man can't live on bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. The mouth of God is the medulla oblongata, and the energy that comes in through there is what we're responsible for using. That's what God's word is breath. But people that are stuck in the adolescent belief stage are still getting tripped up over this word or that word, and they're like people arguing in the street that don't have enough sense to not do that or to rise above that. So and Jesus keeps telling you over and over, and Dan Condren points this out, that when Jesus repeats something, then you can be sure that it's something very important. So put extra attention on what you see that Jesus said repeatedly. The Universal Language of Mind, Matthew Interpreted, is a book that I use almost daily. And I've had 40 years experience with language of mind. But I use it, and then Dan Condren also wrote a book, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is called Dreams of the Soul. And it gives the steps to enlightenment. Between these two books and the Dreamer's Dictionary, all about language of mind and seeing in depth what we're doing here. I mean, seeing it in more real terms. The deeper you go, the more you see. Because in the talk I did on this same site is the good stuff is buried deep. If you want the good stuff, you got to dig. And here's where you dig, not somewhere else. Everything from the beginning has been in here, or in here. Infancy, adolescence, adulthood, and old age, which is the wisdom stage. Now, wisdom, well, adulthood is where you practice doing what you've learned, because it's only by, you can hear something, you can read something, and that might make sense. But as you practice it, as you practice this concept in everything that you do, then you begin to understand it from a different, deeper perspective. And I've come to understand that your experience is the only way that you can see truth. And truth was a big thing for me. That's what got me into the School of Metaphysics. Excuse me. When Jesus was in the desert 40 days and 40 nights, devil tempted him, trying to throw him off. And when Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan," he had reached the point to where, as the knowing quality in the self, He was moving from adolescence to adulthood and spirituality, because he had identified when that movement represents the movement in a person going from adolescence to adulthood, which means that you're putting the conscious ego where it belongs, behind you. The conscious ego is what religions call the devil, but there's 4 different stages of the conscious ego: the serpent, devil, Satan, and finally the dragon. I won't go into all of that here too, but Dan will cover this in his book, Matthew Interpreted. So there's a wealth of information in there, and he did a great service to humanity by writing the book. When Jesus went from from adolescence to adulthood, this was after 40 days in the desert. Desert is that unknown, the wilderness where we're just kind of lost. In the desert, in 40 days, 4 is the number of stability and 0 represents the understanding. So 40 days expands on the understanding of stability. So in one move, by this realization that the conscious ego, original purpose of the conscious ego was to push you forward, but as long as it's in front, it holds you back. As Flip Wilson said, the devil made me do it. And religion tells you, well, the devil does this, God does this. Well, see, one of the first things that I began to question when I was sitting in church growing up was that, well, if God does these things for you and the devil does these things to you, what does that make me? As religion puts it, you're nothing. God is everything. Watch out for the devil, but you're nothing. That's not what Jesus was teaching. You look a little bit deeper. Now harp on religion a little bit, but because that's what I needed to rise above, and I remember that. And I remember, and it's still, I'm experiencing the freedom of having done that, to rise above it. Rise above it. If you're caught in a situation that is tedious for you, rise above it. And the way you do that is you start looking within for the answers. That's meditation. Say your prayer, which is aggressive motion, or stating your intention. And then meditation is the process of listening within, so that you begin to hear the words from your soul. It's not God talking to you, it's your soul talking to you, which is a part of God. And it's a part of you. It's taken a while for me to gather some of this concept. And a lot of people talk about it as if they know. And of course, as I begin to know, then I can understand what somebody else is saying in a deeper way. It is my own experience that tells me the truth. It is my responsibility to respond with my abilities, to my abilities, develop more abilities to respond, because it's about responding, moving forward, or reacting, staying the same. Caught in the trap. Sound like a song. Infancy, adolescence, adulthood, old age, and wisdom. No matter what you're learning, you will go through each step. And it's interesting as an exercise to go through your list of experiences that you're currently experiencing and identify which stage of growth that you are currently in related to that particular avenue of learning. Oh, there's so much. The more I'm here, or the longer I'm here, the more I can see, the more I appreciate what is. Because this is a phenomenal place we are. One of the things I deeply appreciate is that I can, there's someone coming today or tomorrow to fix, I'm in a travel trailer, and my thermostat will not let me program it anymore. So I've got a guy coming today or tomorrow, I'm not sure, to replace the thermostat. That's something I don't know how to do. Now, I'm capable of learning how to do it, but if I take the time to learn every little thing that I need to do, that becomes a distraction in itself. So I appreciate the fact that I can call somebody that knows what they're doing. And I can put my attention on something else, like doing what I'm doing now, doing this talk. I appreciate people that, and I've had work done on my car recently, and it's very expensive, but I don't know how to do it. I learned back a long time ago that it was better for me, cheaper in the long run, to pay somebody that knows what they're doing rather than me doing the shade tree mechanic thing. So I got over that fairly early. It took a little experience, but I was able to put that in its place, in its proper perspective for me. Now, my proper perspective, that doesn't mean that everybody's got to have the same perspective as I do. But what I point out in some of these talks, like the question, if you follow my routine on just how you deal with the question, if you follow that, it will work for you in whatever you do. So these are the kind of things that I like to share. And I'm not advertising. I'm not trying to be the most popular person on the internet, even though I might have the prettiest shirt today. I am giving to whoever wants to receive it. And if a person is sincere about learning something that has something to do with what I'm talking about, then their own soul will connect them with hearing what I'm saying. That's the way it works. I don't want to be foolishly caught up in gathering more and more people to listen to me, because I'm interested in the one person that's listening that needs to hear what I'm saying. This is all. And this is how I'm passing along some wisdom, which I've earned, that someone else who's in a different stage, in infancy, adolescence, adulthood, where you're working, where you're doing the practice. Adulthood is where you practice. That's the number 6, and that's a different story. The number of service. I am passing along what I have come to understand through my experience. And there's much available. In fact, the talk that I did on the question is the key thing, because if you'll go back and find the talk I did on the question, essentially it's this. Asking the question that's important to you causes your own soul to feed you the information related to that. Wherever it is, wherever it needs to come from, your own soul will connect you with it. That's the way I found the School of Metaphysics. That's how I know that this procedure works. Because whatever you have on your mind, you are putting energy into it. And whatever you give, the universe gives back. So you need to be very deliberate and clear about what you're wanting, what you're putting energy into. Because energy is not wasted. Nothing is made new or destroyed. It only changes. And that's why death is not a permanent thing. It's only a temporary thing, and it represents a change from one form of existence into another. Because energy and thoughts are energy, and thoughts are creative energy. Whether you understand this or not, each thought is creating your life. So choose your thoughts consciously. My teacher, Nancy Hayek, told me that it was her goal to make every action she takes be a conscious choice, doing nothing habitually. Habitually is adolescence. This is what you should do. This is what you shouldn't do. That's adolescence. And a good portion of the world is still in adolescence, have yet to reach adulthood in spirituality. If they only look so far as to keep up with everybody else, then they're probably doing okay. But just like everybody else, they're lying to themselves. Infancy, adolescence, adulthood, old age, which is wisdom. Where are you? Are you, and I'm talking about predominantly, where the most of your energy is placed, you can figure it out. Are you in infancy? Are you in adolescence? Are you in adulthood? Or are you in the wisdom stage and sharing what you know or what you've come to understand with other people? And I did a talk on this about giving, because if everybody was giving what they know, imagine how our planet, the people on this planet, would be a little different. How much more would be peace? And I can't mention peace without doing this. Every morning on Zoom, there's reading of the Universal Peace Covenant. And this is put on by a group of people that, and someone is inside the Peace Dome that was built on the College of Metaphysics property in Wendyville, Missouri. Somebody's in there every morning, 7:30 a.m. Central Time, U.S., reading aloud the Universal Peace Covenant. And there's people from all over the world that participate in this at times. And I like to participate in the talk that takes place the fourth Friday of every month, 6:30 p.m. You can find it on Zoom. Look under peacedome.org and go to the monthly talk about peace. It's this coming up this Friday night, and I've missed it the last couple of times because I've had trouble connecting with my phone, and that's something about technology that I'm not familiar enough with to make it work properly anyway. So, but peace. Oh, there's so many things that I could say about this, but I wanted to just address the 4 stages of growth, and everything you learn will go through each of these 4 stages. So look at what you're currently learning and determine where you are, and that may help you to see how to get the next step. If you go to this YouTube at the next step, Winston Cunningham, you will see at the beginning, I state my purpose very clearly. And that's what I'm doing here, is offering, hopefully it'll help somebody else. I explained that a little bit better. Don't want to take time for that here. But this is me giving what I have to the rest of you, to anyone who wants it or anyone who needs it. Person usually don't know what they want. They'll be nagged by a need that they don't recognize. And that's another talk I did. I focus on different things at different times. But I don't want to belabor too long here. But infancy, adolescence, adulthood, old age, wisdom, keep going over and over this. And I am more into the wisdom stage now than other stages. And as it is with the cell phone and the computer, I'm an infant. Very clearly an infant. And it's hard for me to get motivated enough. I would really rather just do the talk and let somebody else do the rest of this stuff, the technical stuff. On the peace talk and the reading of the Universal Peace Covenant, there's a couple of people in the background that have the duty of handling all the technical stuff. And I like that concept because I don't know much about it. I know enough about some things. I wouldn't say enough. If I knew enough, I wouldn't need to be here. But I appreciate where I am. I appreciate that I am. And life is good. Getting better every day. I'm Winston Cunningham. Thank you.